Hi everyone. So in this video, I will show you how to apply for your postgraduate work permit. I did extensive research on this topic before making this video. I talked to designated immigration advisors from my university. So the information you'll be getting in this video will be accurate. However, please remind yourself that I'm not an immigration advisor, but everything that I did during my application, I will show you. If you're only interested in checking out how to fill out the IMM form for this application, you can go to the later section of this video where I showed you step by step how to fill out that form. But for those who do not necessarily know when to stop working and when to apply for your PGWP, I will discuss about those topics first. So there's a gray area when you should stop working as an international student. IRCC kept this topic a little bit vague, I would say. So it varies from institutions to institutions. Although if you check out the IRCC's help center, you will see that as soon as you get your final grades, or as soon as you get your one of the letters, that can be your program completion letter or final official transcripts, you should stop working. But it will vary from institute to institute, because some in universities or colleges, they only offer you the final official transcripts when your degree is conferred or when your degree is guaranteed to be offered to you. In some cases, the final official transcripts can be ordered at any time. That is the case even with my university, University of Calgary. So you can order your final official transcripts whenever you want to. So in this case, until you get your program completion letter, you can work full-time. So this is something you need to double check with your university, especially your international student services section of the university or college. You need to get in touch with them. You can ask them when you should stop working, because it will vary from universities to universities or colleges to colleges. In some cases, you will still be able to work full-time. Sorry, not full-time, that would be part-time. Full-time at the university, but part-time outside of your university. You'll be still able to work part-time after your grades are released, until you get your program completion letter. Right at the moment when you get your program completion letter, you must stop working. And then when you submit your PGWP application, right away you can start working full-time. Again, sorry, I might have mixed it up a little bit in the earlier section of the video. Until you get your program completion letter, you can work part-time off-campus jobs, full-time on-campus jobs, of course you know that. And right after you get your program completion letter, you must stop working until you submit a PGWP application. Once you have submitted a PGWP application, you do not need to wait for any confirmation or anything. You can start working full-time until you get a decision, of course, and the decision, most likely it's going to be positive. But however, so that's the policy. And if your universities offer your program completion letter, let's say 14 days after your grades are released, most likely you can still work part-time till you get your program completion letter. But this is something you should definitely double check with the university or college. The other thing that is really important, make sure before you apply for your PGWP, your study permit is still valid. This is a very important thing that some students might miss. So let's say you will be done with your program on April 30th of 2026. Your study permit must be valid. At least you need 1 month extra. So because like the letter or the transcripts, this could take time. So make sure you apply for your study permit extension if your study permit will expire on the same day when your program is completed. So make sure you extend that, because some students, they might forget about extending that, and then later on when they extend their study permit, of course, IRCC takes a significant amount of time to process applications because of all the backlogs. So you won't get your decisions immediately. So if you do not apply for your study permit extension way earlier, then most likely you'll be on an implied status right after your graduation. And that means, because you have already completed your graduation, you are on an implied status. You won't be able to apply for your PGWP, because to be able to apply for your PGWP and remain in Canada, you need a study permit extension first. So you'll have to wait until then. So it's better, always better, to apply for study permit extension way before, so that when you complete your program, you still have a valid study permit, so that you can apply for your post-graduation work permit. And let's move to the next section. I will show you how to apply for your PGWP, and then I'll show you how to fill out the form. So I'm going to type here GCK login. And this would be the first link. Sign into your IRCC secure account. So here I need to log into my account. Most likely you'll need your authenticator. So I have to put the code there. And I accept. So these are my previous study permit applications. This one would be my initial study permit application from outside of Canada. And when I wanted to extend my study permit, I had to submit another application, and this one with this. So here we'll click on apply to come to Canada, and then visitor visa, study or work permit. What would you like to do in Canada? This would be work. How long are you planning to stay in Canada? Temporarily more than 6 months. So the code matches in your passport. So in my case, that would be PGD. What is your current country of territory of residence? That would be Canada. Do you have any family member who's Canadian? No, I do not. What is your date of birth? Put my date of birth. I am not. Should be student. Would you plan to work on the law? Does it be no when I want to? So now we have completed the checklist. We will fill out this one. So continue with our postgraduate work permit in Canada. This has been known. Medical exam is needed before you submit your application for foreign nationals who stay in Canada for more than 6 months and have lived in one or more designated territories for more than 6 months in the past year. I have not lived anywhere and I'm not planning to work in these fields, so I do not fit in the category. Do you want to work in one of the following jobs? Healthcare, health science worker, clinical lab worker, patient attendant in nursing, domestic worker, nursery worker? No. Do you want to submit an application for a family member? No. Are you giving someone access to your application? No. In my case, I did. I have given my fingerprints and photo for an application that was my study permit application, so I will select yes. I'll be paying my fees. Scanner, yes, I'm capable. Yes. So let's review these questions again. What would you like to do in Canada? Work? How long are you planning to stay? Be more than 6 months. Select the code that matches on your passport. My passport code. What is your country or territory of residence? It would be Canada. Do you have a family member who's Canadian? No. What is your date of birth? June 28, 1997. Are you a lawful resident of US? No. What's your current immigration status in Canada? Student. Do you plan to work on campus? No. Are you a full-time student at a participating post-secondary institution and want to work off campus up to 20 hours per week? No. Have you graduated from participating Canadian post-secondary education, which your study permit was a full-time minimum of 8 months? Yes. Is your work essential part of your studies scope work permit? No. Have you been told by immigration that you are approved for in principle of permanent resident? No. Have you submitted a permanent resident application? No. Do you have written job offer? No, I don't. Do you have an official transcript letter from your school that confirms? Blah blah blah. Yes. What is your marital status? My marital status. What is your province or territory of destination? Then we will click continue. Here's some of the general instructions. It says begin. Save this page if you want. I don't need this page. Okay. So here the supporting documents are needed, of course, IMM 5710. We will learn how to fill out this form, and we need to upload our transcripts, completion of studies, passport, digital photo. Okay, let's go over this IMM 5710 form. So this first section, so UCI is your unique client information number that you can find on your study permit. It should be somewhere on the top of your study permit. It's a 10-digit long number. Sometimes it can be 8 digits long as well. Just check your study permit. It's usually written like this. Let's say 8800, like something like that. It would be written like this, but make sure you do not put any space or any dots in between. So write it like this, 10 digits long. Yeah. So copy it directly from your study permit. It stays the same even if you have extended your study permit a couple of times. So put the number from your latest study permit, but it would be the same in all the study permits anyway. And I have one service in my case it's English. If you want service in French, put French. And this one is an important section. So if you read it carefully, if you have a current job, you might think that you need to select this option, apply for a work permit with the same employer, because you're already working for somebody, maybe as a part-time student. But you shouldn't click this option. You should select this option, which is apply for a work permit for the first time or with a new employer. This is because you're applying for a work permit for the first time. Plus, it gives you the flexibility to work for a new employer as well. Nevertheless, the main point is do not select any other options. Select this option if you're applying for a postgraduate work permit. And then your family name, your last name, and then your first name. I usually put everything in capital because that's how my name appears on my passport. Everything in capital, but you don't have to as long as you are putting the first letter as a capital letter. So last name dot first name, and if you have ever changed your name or put in a maiden name or nickname on any official documents, make sure you put yes. Otherwise, no. In my case, it would be no. So the gist is everything should be precise. Yeah. And then your gender information, your date of birth, your place of birth, your country of territory, where you're born. All this information can be found on your passport. I don't know what is your actual place of birth is. Make sure you just follow everything, how it appears on your passport. Do not change anything. And then your citizenship, choose wherever you're from. In my case, it would be Bangladesh. And then this section, so because we're applying for the postgraduate work permit from inside Canada, so it has already selected Canada. Status would be you're applying for a postgraduate work permit, so your status was student or is student. And then from would be the first date when you moved to Canada. So when your study permit was issued, the very first study permit when it was issued, it would be that day. In my case, although I have extended my study permit, my first study permit was issued on this date, so I'll put this information. And the end of your current study permit, whatever it is. It could be, you might have extended it 3 times, who knows, but just put the latest information there. So here, that would be the issue date of your very first study permit, and this would be the expiry date of your latest study permit. So in my case, it's expiring on this date, so I'll put this. Yeah, make sure you put it correctly, and this is one of the reasons why your status must be valid when you're applying for a postgraduate work permit, because if it was a day before I am actually applying for the postgraduate work permit, that creates problem. You should probably talk to an immigration lawyer. Anyway, so let's move on to the next section. Previous countries or territories where you have lived in the past 5 years, apart from your country of citizenship or territory of residence, which is Canada. So from where your passport is issued from, if you have lived in any other countries in the last 5 years apart from Canada, you should put that information. So I'm from Bangladesh. If I have lived in, let's say, India or China in the last 5 years apart from Canada, I need to put that information. And then your current marital status, that's self-explanatory. If you select single, it will omit these options. You do not have to fill out. If it's something else, you have to put the information. And this one is also straightforward. Have you previously been married? In my case, it would be no. Your mother tongue, you select, you know it. So in my case, it would be Bangla or Bengali. So I'll select this. Are you able to communicate in English or French? In my case, I can only communicate in English. I cannot communicate in both. So I'll just select English. Have you taken a test from a designated testing agency to assess your proficiency in English or French? So you must take an English proficiency test or a French proficiency test as per IRCC's new policy. Make sure you have taken CELP or IELTS or any other authorized test. Then you'll put your passport number, your country or territory of issue. For this section, not to be confused, because many of you might have gotten your passport renewed or reissued in Canada. Still, if you take a look at your newly issued passport, you will see that the country or territory of issue usually is the country where the passport is from. So make sure you put it however it appears on your passport. Do not change anything. Do not assume anything. Do not change anything. Put the issue date, expiry date, however it appears on your passport. So once you've selected all that, I think if I selected my country where it is issued, it will automatically ask me to keep the next section blank. Let's select this. Oh yeah, it has been omitted. So do you have a national identity number? In my case, I do. Apart from my passport, I have a national identity document. So you'll put that document number if your country has one. If your country doesn't have one, you put no. On my document, there is an issue date, but there is no expiry date. So this field I'll leave blank. And then if you have a USPR card, you'll put yes. In my case, it's no. And then your current mailing address. So whatever is your current mailing address, make sure you put the updated information here, because your actual work permit, once it's issued, it will be delivered to the mailing address that you will provide here. So in my case, my current lease is expiring and I'm moving to a new house, but I know the information of my new house, so I'll put the information of the new house here so that my work permit is being delivered. It gets delivered to my new address. And residential address, it's the same as my mailing address. In your case, if it's different, you can put no and actually put it there. And then the telephone, I use a cellular phone, and I'll put Canada. I'll put my phone number there. I don't have any fax. I'll not put that. Email is very important, so make sure you use your personal email. Do not use your school email, because sometimes you might lose access to that email. So make sure you put your personal email there. And then coming to Canada, so here it'll be the place of your entrance where you landed in Canada. In my case, it was Toronto Pearson International Airport. I'll put that. If it was, in your case, if it was Vancouver, or let's say somewhere else, Montreal maybe, yeah, you put that information there. The original purpose for coming to Canada, it was study in our case, so we'll put that. And if you have left the country meanwhile after coming to Canada, you should put what is your recent entry to Canada, so you put it there. So if you have gone to the States to visit, or any other country in the world, and if you have come back to Canada, you put the latest date there. And the document number, so this document number would be the number of your latest study permit. Usually the document number starts with an F. Make sure you take a look at the top of your study permit, so it will include the document number. It starts with an F, and it's written in bold. So the next portion, what type of work permit you're applying for, we will select postgraduate work permit here. And if you're applying for a postgraduate work permit, you should leave section 2 of this section to 8. So we'll not fill out anything here. 2 to 8, this will be untouched because we're applying for a postgraduate work permit. You can verify that information on IRCC's webpage as well. I have thoroughly researched before I applied for mine. So yeah, you should, if you're applying for a postgraduate work permit, leave this section blank. And then in the education section, you will put your education information. It doesn't allow you to write everything. So yeah, make sure you customize on your way as long as it's clear to understand. In my case, my program name was Master of Engineering in Mechanical and Manufacturing Engineering. Of course, I cannot put everything there, so I would just put master's degree or master's in mechanical engineering. And put your school information, and then your employment insurance information. So currently I'm working, so I will put my current work details here, but I have stopped working after my program completion letter was issued. But that doesn't necessarily mean that I quit my job. So I will fill out everything apart from this 2 box. So this one I'll keep blank. So if you're already working for somebody, if you just stopped working for them, IRCC would understand that you have stopped working, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you quit working. You'll start working again once you have applied for your postgraduate work permit. So yeah, fill out form, current occupation, employer, city, country, everything apart from this 2. And make sure you put all of your previous work details there, because you should give them all the information that they might need. So I'll put everything there, my previous occupations, wherever I worked, how many hours I worked. Oh, sorry, not how many hours I worked. Wherever I worked, I'll put everything. It's easy that it doesn't ask for the precise date. It asks just for the month and the year, so it's easy to fill out. Once you have written all that, so this information, it'll be straightforward. So tuberculosis, no. Physical mental disorder, no. Have you ever remained beyond the validity of your status and attended school without authorization or work without authorization in Canada? It will be no. Only this one is most likely be yes in your case as well. So in that case, you will put your information. Have you previously applied to enter or remain in Canada? Yes, I did. So that would be, I'll write about my first study permit, then application number, blah blah, and then you can write probably the actual study permit number as well. After that,
extended study permit in my case. Study permit application number blah blah. Whatever is your information, you have to put it there. If you have applied for a co-op work permit, you will also put your co-op work permit information there. So whatever is the details you have to put there, make sure you put everything. Yeah. And then the next one is no, I have never been committed or been arrested for or been charged with or convicted of any criminal offense. And then if you have served for a military, you put yes, otherwise no. If you put yes, you have to give the details. Many students who would come to Canada will have some sort of military affiliation in the past. Make sure you give them the details if it's true in your case. And then are you or have you ever been a member of or associated with any political party? That's like no in my case. Have you ever witnessed anything really? Yeah, desecration of religious buildings, blah blah blah. No in my case. Once it's done, you put your signature, just write it down, your name, and then put the date and validate, and then it will create a QR code. Make sure you write down your signature and validate, and if you haven't put anything that is necessary, the form will detect that and the form will ask you to fill that out. So one more thing to know, that you cannot print it out and fill it out with hand. So you do not have to write down your signature, because in that case you won't be able to validate that. So make sure just write down your signature, just type your signature. Let's say I'll just type my name and then put the date and validate that. And if everything is okay, yeah, done. You have filled your IMM 5710 form. So yeah, that would be it. Just so like a few things again, in case you have forgotten already. You have to put your UCI number, unique client information. That's usually a 10-digit number that you can find on top of your study permit document. This number usually doesn't change, so most likely in your work permit as well, in your future upcoming work permit, it will stay the same, this number. Make sure you put no dash or no dots in between. Just put the entire number here. And yeah, on your study permit document, you will see there is like a dash there in between numbers, but do not put that dash, just put the number, because otherwise it will not take the entire number. And here, another important thing to notice, your date of entry in Canada to the latest expiry date of your study permit. And then here, another important information would be somewhere here. Oh yeah, this document number would be the document number of your latest study permit. The document number usually starts with an F. Make sure you put that correctly. It shouldn't be from your older study permit, because it gets changed every time you get a new study permit or new work permit. So make sure you put the correct information from your latest study permit. And this part, yep, this is straightforward. And this one is here, everything would be known or no, most likely. And this one would be only yes. 2C would be yes. And you have to put the information about your previous study permits or co-op work permit, etc. And yeah, you'll just fill it out. And oh yeah, this one. So 228 would be blank if you're applying for a postgraduate work permit. So if you're applying for a postgraduate work permit, number 228, everything will be blank. Once you are done, put your signature, just type it down, put the date and validate. If you have missed anything, the form will tell you. Otherwise, you're done. Save it, or usually it automatically gets saved. Then you upload it.
So now that you know how to fill out the form, once you have filled it out, you can upload it to your GCK account. If you already have your program completion letter and your final official transcripts and a digital photo, then you can simply submit your application. However, for some applicants, it would be wise to include some stuff in the client information page. Of course, you will be, if you're applying from the old portal, the portal that I showed you, GCK, if you're applying for your PGWP from that portal, you need to submit your IELTS or CELPIP test scores in the client information section. Apart from that, in the last semester, if you are a part-time student, because we could only take a certain amount of courses, and that made your status part-time in the final semester, this is 100% okay, but it's better to write an explanation letter in that case. And in some scenarios, if you had taken, let's say, leave of absence for a certain period of time, for that period, your status will be shown as a not full-time student. So it's better to write an explanation for that period. Make sure you always follow all the IRCC's policies and your study permits rules and regulation. Like, if you're not a full-time student, you cannot work full-time off campus, even during your schedule break. So by that I meant, like, if you were not a full-time student before your schedule break started, and after your schedule break was over, during the schedule break you cannot work full-time. So let's say if I was a part-time student in a semester prior to my schedule break, then during my schedule break I cannot work full-time. I must be a full-time student during the regular semesters. So let's say if spring and summer are your schedule break, during fall and winter, in both of these terms, you have to study as a full-time student so that you can work as a full-time employee during your schedule break. So these are the things that you should keep in mind all the time, because everything affects your PGWP application. And trust me, there are applicants whose PGWP applications were denied because they did not totally comply with IRCC's policy regarding study permit. So I wish you guys all the best with your PGWP application. It might take some time, but wishing you all the best. And let me know in the comment section if you have any questions or doubts. I'll try my best to answer your questions. All the best.